our spirit? What is it? Where does it go? Are we able to see them using our mind's eye? If so, just what can spirit teach us? Welcome to School Through Spirit. Host DeEtte Renee is a certified psychic medium and master teacher of psychic and mediumship development through LWISSD. DeEtte was born knowing spirit and now is here to help you better understand the spirit world. And now your host, DeEtte Renee.
Hey everybody, welcome. This is DeEtte, and this is also School Through Spirit on WLTK-DB.com. Now, this is a show of which I do speak a lot about spiritual natures, different things where spirit does impact our lives, and I have guests on. Now, my guests have all been touched by spirit in some manner, whether it be in their daily, everyday life, or just maybe how they've come in and affected them. Now, this week's guest is Mr. Dan Norvell, and he is amazing. Dan is the original cast member of Expedition Entity. And remember, that is a team that I had on beginning of July, and Dan wasn't able to make it because of a work schedule. So we are bringing him in today. Now, for everybody that was listening to me this morning, yes, this morning, this is a pre-recorded show, and I do apologize because I do like the fact that all my shows are live, but this one is pre-recorded. But please, please, please still leave your comments, still put all the chatter in the box, because I am going to be listening to it and watching it and doing everything I can and answering any questions I need to over here. And I also know that Dan on next Monday will be doing the same. Now, the original plan was I was going to be here for 30 minutes, and then Dan and Todd were going to come in because I really wanted to see the dynamic of Todd interviewing Dan for the first time in years. But unfortunately, Todd is sick and I cannot make it. And yeah, so I'm going to take over the interview. Is that okay? I think that's okay. Anyway, so that's the way it's going to be. And Todd will learn about it later. But I know without a doubt, Todd will bring Expedition Entity, or at least Dan, on his show, and you'll be able to see that dynamic between the two of them. So with that being said, by the way, did you like my shirt? I love Harry Potter. I'm all about the magic, guys. I'm all about the magic. So let's look at the book, Neil Diamond Walsh. Ever since I received this book, I will tell you what, I don't know if y'all like Neil. I don't know if y'all knew that he has this amazing book. Neil is the man that wrote Conversations with God, that series that was just globally an epic, book. And I'm not sure if it became a TV show or a movie or not, but he also wrote this book, The Wisdom of the Universe. Okay. So this is where I always get to talk from. And honestly, I'm just drawn to it. I'm drawn to it every week, all the time. I love this book. So we're going to just open the pages to whatever. Ooh, this is interesting. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't make this up. Do you see this scene? Do you see this? There, not again. Okay. This gorgeous scene that you see here with the lake, and you see oh God, this is all backwards on me. So you see this right here, and then you see a lake, and then you see land. Something that Dan and I might talk about is not that long ago, beginning of August, when I went up north with Expedition Entity, and we did an investigation at Bad Axe, Wisconsin, and it's where a massacre went on against the Native Americans. And literally, if I was standing on the land looking out, this is the exact scene of what that looked like. The exact, like, holy cow, can't make this up. This is it. And it's mind-blowing. So I'm going to read it, and then we're going to talk about it. But it says, the soul is everywhere in. The soul is everywhere in, through and around you. It is that which contains you. The soul is larger than the body, is not carried within the body, but carries the body within it. The soul is that which holds you together, just as the soul of God is that which contains the universe and holds it together. The soul of God holds in the universe, the soul of man holds in each other human body. Now, I will tell you what, that kind of gets confusing when I read it, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, oh, what? Is that huge? Is it mind-blowing? Or is it, oh my gosh, who knows? Who really knows? So let's talk about it a little bit. And I'm literally looking at pages either way to see if there's anything added. And I don't think it is. I think that's really all of it. So let's read it again, just to kind of, I'm going to read it again, or parts of it, and talk about it, because it really is huge. It's really huge, especially if you have loved ones in certain states within their life, be it Alzheimer's or medically induced comas and things of that nature. So again, it says the soul is everywhere. The soul is everywhere in, through, and around you. It is that which contains you. The soul is larger than the body. It is not carried within the body, but carries the body within it. The soul is that which holds you together, just as the soul of God is that which contains the universe and holds it together. The soul of God holds in the universe. The soul of man holds in each individual human body. Well, that's a mouthful, and it's a lot, and it's quite encompassing, isn't it? Because I know when I teach people a lot, and I think it's easier to teach it this way, as an understanding that we have a soul that resides in our body. And as you guys all know, you'll always hear that, this body is kind of like a car. It's, it's only needed while it's here. And that is true. That is 110% true. But the soul is something that's very large. It is energy. It's big, but it's large. And it's all out here. It's everywhere. Okay. Does it need this body to go through life? It does. It needs to join with the body in order to understand things that are happening. Okay. Well, let's backtrack. Let's backtrack a little bit. So essentially, what is a soul? A soul is something that lives in the afterlife. The soul is energy. The soul is something that is larger than you'd ever think. Okay. Now, what does the soul understand? It understands love, pure love, unconditional, pure love is what the soul understands. It's all that it can conceive. But if a soul wants to understand more, if a soul wants to grow, if it wants to learn, it has to potentially go to school, just like we do here. Except for the soul school is, say, the earth, or it might be another planet or another dimension. And I know that that's a lot for a lot of people when you think about other planets and dimensions, but it's there. It's there. So the soul has got to join with a body. It's got to join with a body. Okay. And some manner, it's got to join with the body. Okay. Now, we like to look at it like this body is the master of it all, and really it's not. It's the soul that's the master. It's the soul that is the driving force of this. Okay. This can only live as long as a soul is attached to it. As long as a soul is attached to this, my body will go on. And just because the body stops doesn't mean the soul stops. So when you're looking at that, and so many people see auras, which is our energy layers and all this wonderful thing. And when I teach about 7 different layers of the soul, or of the aura, and how it goes out. But also imagine that the soul is of the body, in the body, but around the body. It is all encompassing of this. That starts to go, wait a second, what exactly is this? And I like to kind of look at it sometimes as the body is kind of like in a bubble of the soul. Now the soul is outside of me, the soul is inside of me. But again, the soul only understands things totally when it's here. Okay. And one thing I'm drawn to talk about with this is, one, to realize that I think this takes, when we talk about stuff like this, it takes kind of the ego off the body, doesn't it? It takes a lot of the driving force off the body. And what I mean by that is, when we walk through life, a lot of times we're looking at, we take things from an ego standpoint, okay? And what I mean ego is big ego, little ego, but we always take it from self. And we like to make things bigger than what they are. And I think that's in general. I got the biggest ice cream cone, you got the biggest ice cream cone, whatever it might be. But we like to also have this ego mindset to say that Earth is the only planet out there with living beings, which is just not true. I mean, they might not have been able to prove it by science that there's living beings someplace else, but we've only gotten so far out there. And I'm just not going to be the only thing to believe that in this whole great universe, this whole existence, that we are the only populated planet. So then when we break it down a little bit further and we get it into a much smaller perspective and we go to the body, we like to think that this body is what is making everything go. It's just not. It's just not. This body of mine or of yours is no better than the Volvo or the Dodge or the Chevy or Mitsubishi, whatever, in your driveway. That vehicle is not going to run unless you get in it and turn a key on. It's not going to do anything unless it has something to join with it and make it run. And that's the same thing with this. Okay? So what does that mean in terms, like, why are you talking about this? One, it's the page that flipped open to the book, but I have a lot of people that come to me. And I had a lot when I was a nurse, and I still have a lot now, where people come to me and they've got loved ones in, say, a medically induced coma, or they have loved ones that are in just regular comas, or they have loved ones that are like Alzheimer or dementia, and they're quite advanced in it. And they struggle. They really struggle with this concept. Okay. And I get it. I understand why they struggle. I understand why this is something difficult. And it even becomes more difficult when I'm able to talk to that soul as if they had passed away, but yet the body has not passed. And it's a beautiful concept. And I will tell you, if I had my head in the heaviness that I needed the body to talk to somebody, this isn't something I'd be able to do. I had to be able to wrap my thought around and my mind around the thought process that the soul does not need to stay with the body or around the body for the body to function. Now, every night, guys, when you sleep, your soul leaves your body. It goes, it explores, it has fun, it goes back to per se heaven or the afterlife. It comes back, it's mingling with others, it's learning, it's growing, it's doing all these magical things. It's the body that needs the rest. The soul does not. And sometimes when we start to look at the dynamic of us being a soul versus us being a body, that's the big concept there. We are a soul. Life gets a little bit easier. Life becomes something that's impossible to something that is possible. Okay? And what I mean by that is because the soul is again about love. It makes the right choices. It looks at things in a way that it doesn't want to hurt somebody else. It has a higher moral standard than what we carry as individuals in a body. And when you think about that, when you think about a soul going, okay, it's about love and what it brings to you, okay, it is going to choose love. It is going to choose something of grace. It's going to want to move forward, but it is going to choose those things that are going to be better. It's going to have an inner guidance system that is going to be, gosh, I said it in the last show, I'm going to say it again, more about the commandments per se. And I'm not going to get all religious on us, but I mean, has anybody really looked at the commandments? It's like, thou shalt not hurt yourself, thou shalt not hurt your neighbor, thou shalt not covet whatever, it's thou shalt not murder. It's all common sense, don't be a dink type stuff. And I can hear a bunch of people laughing as I said that. But really, that's what the soul's about. Don't be a dink. Just be a person. Just be here. That you're coming here. And the soul is not caring about what Johnny did at this time. The soul is about being here and loving and learning and growing. And the soul is here to help others, to uplift them. It is the body that screws all this up. I'm hearing like ding, ding, ding in my head. And a lot of us don't realize it's the body that screws that up. As much as we would like to say it's not, it is. We talk a lot about awakening, that term you hear me use that I don't like. The awakening, the awakening. And what I do believe with a lot of, let's go further into what that awakening means, a waking up, a wake-up call means. Okay? Because when we start to go further into it and when you start to look at that, waking up is really, for lack of better terminology, starting to realize things you never realized before. A lot of people start to have a waking up period in their 40s. I mean, anybody that's younger, I'm sorry, it's happening with people that's younger and younger and younger, and it's pretty awesome when it happens. But really, it is about waking up. Okay, and when we talk about waking up, it is having different things that make better sense to you. When we're in our younger years, our teenage years, or maybe even younger, we walk with the same morals as our parents. And I'm not dissing anybody's parents here, but we're taught things by our parents. And as we get older, we're taught things by our friends. And as we get older, we're taught things by society. And we tend to do things based on what we have been taught by other people around us. And that includes what you're going to do for a living. Because we go to school and you're really good at math, and somebody says, oh my God, you should be accountant, or you should be this, or you should be that. And we tend to follow those lines because somebody else said, you really like numbers, you're really good with numbers, and that's what you end up doing. And you hit later in life and you realize that, gosh, yeah, I like numbers, but God, this job is boring. I just don't feel it. I've never really felt it. And you start to look at things that are of importance to you. It's to you is what those words are. What is important to you? Not what's important to somebody else and somebody else's opinion that you're taking. But it's where you're going to start deep diving into you, into your life, and what makes you happy. What is going to help you to grow as a person. So you'll see a lot of people in that quote unquote midlife crisis. And what they're doing is they're flipping careers. They're quitting life as they know it. And they're changing into something that resonates with them. And so many people go, gosh, I did this, like for myself. I was in my 40s and I switched from being a nurse, totally upheavaled myself in my life, moved to a totally different culture, and lower Wisconsin versus upper Wisconsin, trust me, it's two different cultures. And I went from being a nurse to going back to being a server, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I cleaned cabins and I helped take care of people on the side, and I went and cleaned some houses, and I had nothing to do with really medical. But I was finding myself. I was going into my midlife crisis. And grant you, a lot of things transpired to force me there, but I still made a choice to go there. And then when I was done and I started to come back, and I came back to lower Wisconsin, and I tried to jump back in the medical field, and I did a good job, but I couldn't follow the status quo anymore. I couldn't walk through and ignore things I was seeing. I couldn't just turn a blind eye to stuff that didn't resonate anymore, because none of it resonated anymore. I knew there was a better way to help to heal people, to help make life better for people. And I decided to walk away. And here I am, 3 or 4 years out, whatever it's been. I mean, 2020 is when I retired, but really it was a year before that I started to walk away from everything. And during that process, I started to find myself. I started to wake up. Now, did the awakening start earlier then? Heck yes, it did. But I started to go further into it because I decided to start doing what my soul wanted. My soul said what was the best for my growth. I stopped listening to everybody saying, oh my gosh, you're great with people. You'd be a great healer. You should be a nurse and a great career. And you can fall back on something. Oh my gosh, it was in my head. And I quit. And I listened to my soul because I found it was my soul that was driving this body. My soul was really what was driving my life. Now, does it mean I wasted 21 years as being a nurse and 5 years prior to that as being an aide? No, none of it's a waste. All of it adds to the library of my soul, adds to knowledge for my soul and growth of my soul. And I go further into this, and it helps me to become this dynamic of who I am now. But again, I have went from allowing my body to be the driving force to allow my soul to be my driving force and realizing this is what I am going to stay with for eternity. I will look at a different body every so many years. That's a concept, isn't it? When you start to look at things differently, when you start to flip-flop, when this body is done and I get to go back to the afterlife, I'm going to sit there for a while. And then when I decide to come back here, I will have a different body. I will have a different goal plan that I will go through all this again until I start to listen to my soul and say, what is it that we want to learn? Where do we want to grow? And hopefully, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, we start to figure this out. And I do believe we are starting to figure this out because awakenings are not happening in our 60s anymore. Sometimes they happen in our 40s, and I think that's for a lot of us, but it's starting to happen earlier and earlier in our lives where our kids are looking at us going, no, I've got to make me happy. I got to follow my path. And that's them listening to this soul. So when you start to look at it as a much bigger picture, guys, and I will tell you things are a much bigger picture, life becomes a lot easier. I know this is a lot to wrap your head around. I know this is like, oh my gosh, nail you in the head, boom, oh my gosh, what's this concept DeEtte's giving you today? But when you start to realize that and realize that truly our body is just a small speck in comparison to the soul. And the soul is this grandiose energy that drives us. And someday we go back to just being the soul. And this body will go back to ashes and dust. Might be a few pictures in 100 years, but really, unless you're Abraham Lincoln, nobody's going to really remember you guys. I hate to say this. Even our own families tend to forget a few generations back. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's really the cycle of life because honestly, it is the soul that's going to matter. And a good example of that is, I don't know if you've ever met somebody and look at them. And you've never met them before in your life, but you've met them and you look in their eyes and you're like, oh my God, where have you been? And you just know them. You don't know why you know them. You just know them. It's because your souls are talking. It's because there's a driving force behind it. It's a remembrance. And each time that happens for me, it reminds me that this body's only going to last so long. It reminds me that my soul at some point is going to go back to a collective. And it's going to remember being part of the universe and of God and all of these amazing things. And when I get to look back on this and go, wow, that was such a small blip. It was 3 seconds. 3 seconds. I heard that from a soul not that long ago. And it wasn't even to me. The soul didn't say directly to me. I actually was reading for somebody else that had a reading before of their loved one. And they said that was the thing that they remember they caught the most when their loved one came through this other medium. They said their life was only 3 seconds long on the heaven side. 3 seconds. That's insane. But the soul has a different concept of time. It has a different concept of what it's taken in. It's just a complete different concept. So for this week, I want you guys to think a little bit larger than what you have. Go out of this body a little bit and go, wow, what is my soul? Reach that out. Try to push that out, like the energy of it out. See if you can start to follow that energy. See if that soul will talk to somebody else or something else. Allow the soul to drive you versus your mind driving you. See what comes of it. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Okay, with that being said, we are going to take a quick station break, and when we come back, we're going to have Dan with us, and I am super excited about this. So I'll see you in a few. This is DeEtte here on School Through Spirit with WLTK-DB.com.
Looking for a unique paranormal experience? The Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is just the event you're looking for. You will have the opportunity to investigate the Haunted Rock Island YMCA with ACG Paranormal. Visit with over 60 paranormal and metaphysical vendors from 8 or more states. And pre-order your t-shirts at dvinar@aol.com. Visit a psychic gallery reading, mediums, tea leaf reading, animal communication, dream interpretation, aura reading, tarot and oracle card readings, or get a Reiki healing. See a demonstration of the Estes method by Carly Bird. Presentations by Nick Simons and Aaron G. Thompson of 28 Days Haunted, Greg Bakken from Ghostbox Radio, and headliner Rick Hayes, along with many folks you'll see on Paraflix. Be sure to like and follow our sponsors: Paraflix, WLTK-DB Talk Radio LLC, Studio 6 Productions, Unturned Pages, and Ocean Eye Crystals. General admission is only $5, and all proceeds go directly to the Haunted Rock Island YMCA. For more information on the Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon and vendors, look for them on Facebook under Events.
Welcome back. This is DeEtte here on School Through Spirit with WLTK-DB.com. Today I have got Mr. Dan Norvell. I hope I pronounced that right, because if not, I'm doing it. I've just changed his whole name and he can laugh at me later. With that being said, I want to bring in Dan. Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Did I just rename you?
No.
Okay.
No, you're good.
I got to show you something.
Sure.
I know you're normally working when I do my normal show,
Yes.
so you miss a lot, miss that at least. But I do the beginning of my show. I flip to a page in this book and we talk about it. And it's just a random page.
Okay.
This was the page I turned to today. Does that not remind you of something?
Reminds me of Bad Axe.
Uh-huh. I opened that page and went, that's a heavy subject. I almost flipped the page. And
Very
then
simple.
I went, no, Dan's on. There's a reason why I'm seeing this picture. There's a reason for this discussion. And this is their way to say, you're going to talk about this, because I can't make that up. Oh my gosh. And I am sorry. I know you'll probably be on Todd's show sometime, because he really wanted to be here, but he's sick.
No, it's okay.
He is really sick. So let's talk about Dan, though, today. Let's talk about Dan. How did you get into this crazy world of paranormal?
It kind of chose me at the age of 13. I happened to be going uptown, and I live in a real small Midwestern, kind of like a cow town for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
My hometown of Kirkland was established in 1882, but there were people here since 1850.
Okay.
So if you put that in the terms of the Black Hawk War, Illinois became a state in 1818.
Right.
The Black Hawk War of 1832. And then, 18 years later, people are settling over here. And my hometown is only about 14 miles from that first battle site.
Oh, wow.
So when I was 13, I was, like I said, walking uptown to meet my friends. We had a local record store that was full of video games, and we always went up there and met up there to play video games after school. And it was probably 8 o'clock at night that I was running up there, and I left home with a pocket full of quarters, and my mom said be home by 9, and blah blah blah. So out the door I went.
Right.
And as I was walking up there on the opposite side of the street, there was a man in a drover coat and kind of, I wouldn't say it was like a 10-gallon cowboy hat, but it was more like a Western hat, definitely.
Right.
Couldn't make out any facial features, but the shadow was keeping pace with me on the other side of the street.
Okay.
And if I'd speed up, it'd speed up. If I'd slow down, it would slow down. And then we got to the edge of a building, and it turned and walked right through the wall. There was no door there. There was no nothing. It just turned and right through the wall.
Oh, wow.
And, being 13 years old, I kind of stood there for a second in disbelief, and then I hauled ass up to where my friends were at. Told them the story. They all told me I was goofy, and we played video games.
Then we just played video games. I got over it.
Nothing else I could really do. I really couldn't understand what I had seen, and looking back at it now, after being into the paranormal, I've been doing this since 1996.
Right.
After doing it for so long, I think that the keeping pace was probably coincidental. I think I probably witnessed a residual haunt.
Okay.
And as the figure got to where it was going, it turned and went into the door of a house that was probably there back in the 1880s.
Okay. That makes sense. That completely makes sense. So I like how you were like nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
How your life is right now. Every time I talk to you, you're like, well, it just happens.
It does.
It is a person that's just been doing this way too long.
Larry and I talk a lot, and we've often said this on various podcasts and to people who come up to us when we both can be at a Paracon together.
Right.
They really love the show Expedition Entity, but why do you guys not react? Well, Larry, he was in Afghanistan. He was a soldier in Afghanistan.
Right.
I was a firefighter for 16 years. I was a paramedic for 6. 4 of them I spent in Chicago as a paramedic.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've been a corrections officer for now over 17 years. We don't jump and run and crap ourselves and get all wide-eyed, and we don't react. We don't. And that's probably the worst part of the show, is that you got 2 guys. When Larry and I started shooting season 1, our good friend Steve, who's also our castmate, he was only in 1 episode that season because we couldn't get with him to do the rest of the episodes. So it was Larry and I flying solo.
Right.
And we don't react. We just don't get all that, goofy reactions that make some shows just great.
Right.
You sit and you wait for these people to react, and Larry and I don't do that. So
no, you don't.
the best part of the show is probably also the worst part of the show. Right. So now we we brought Steve in and Jen and Laura in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, you know, Laura and Jen were both in the last episode of season 2, and then starting season 3, it was all of us. And unfortunately, Laura had, you know, a change in her life that she couldn't shoot with us anymore.
Right.
And then at the end of season 3, that also happened with Jen. So, you know, it was kind of back to the drawing board. But now with Sierra and Paige, I think that we're going to really have a great season 4. We've got a good cast in place. Not that we didn't, you know, we've told Sierra and Paige both. She's got big shoes to fill because Jen and I work together so well.
Yeah.
We bounced off of each other really, really well. We really, Jen and I were very close. You know, the thing about it, DeEtte, is I'm old enough to be every one of their fathers besides Steve.
Right.
And that's kind of the bond that Jen and I developed. I looked at her as a daughter type of a thing. You know, which my daughter kind of does this too, but she's in Minnesota. She was in an episode with us, and going back and watching that episode with Lexi, I think it would be great. I think it would be great if Lexi and I could do kind of a spinoff and just do a show with her and I. The downside of that is I get very, very overprotective because it's my daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know how well it would really flow.
I think it would flow pretty well. I really do. Only because that would be one person that would stand up and give you shit back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be paranormal with a little bit of comedy on the side. You know what I mean? Kind of back and forth. You know?
Yeah, I mean, my daughter, she just left Saturday to go back to Minnesota to finish up her secondary degree, basically, because she graduated in May. But she has a few more classes to finish up, and she'll have a double degree. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but whatever.
Right.
But you know, the kid's my best friend. My son and I, we have a great relationship, but it's different with my daughter because she's interested in
everything.
85% of what I'm interested in. My son, he doesn't care about it. He thinks it's cool what we all do.
Right.
He could care less.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, I always tell people, in my family, my children are very gifted, but my son is like, nope, don't want anything to do with it. And, you know, he was very much more when he was younger. As he got older, he's cut it off, and that's totally okay. And he looks at me like I'm voodoo mommy, and that's fine. He loves me either way. Mm-hmm. My daughter at 30 is starting to come into her abilities, you know, and whether she chooses to explore those or not,
right,
it doesn't matter. It gives her a little bit more insight to what goes on with me, but really it doesn't change the dynamic of who they are, you know? No. So who knows? Wouldn't it be great if, you know, your son hit 30 and decide, let's go look for some ghost dad?
Well, when my son's 30, that's going to make me like mid-60s. So
still go.
I'm going to be winding down.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to do this my whole life.
You'll be doing OG ghost hunters at that point.
Yeah,
I love it.
You never know.
Let's go back and talk about when you first got a team together. You know, because Expedition Entity is just amazing, and I love the team you created, and you know the opportunities, you know, that I've been able to show up and see how you guys work is just dynamic. It's amazing, the team you created. But I know you had stuff before Expedition Entity. I know this isn't your first rodeo.
The first team that I put together was in 2009, late 2009, early 2010. That was when Facebook was very new. Mm-hmm. I don't even think Instagram was out yet. It was MySpace and Facebook, and I was never a MySpace person.
Right.
But I had put a team together called Small Town Paranormal, and we hit Facebook and took it by storm. I mean, wow. I had people, DeEtte, calling me all the time. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I mean, I'm sure you got the call. I know everybody who runs a team or does this at some time or another gets a call. I know you think I'm crazy, but and I was partnered with a guy named Rob Roquet, and Rob and I, we worked together really, really well. We had put together a team that consisted of me, him, my brother, and two amazing ladies, Renee and Patty. They were awesome. And those ladies, they would go anywhere. It did not matter the creepier, the better.
Oh, wow. That's kind of nice to have.
Yeah. Renee was just a go-getter. Nothing scared her. And then Patty was a sensitive and very, very good. I would say she was more of a psychic than a sensitive, but she always considered herself a sensitive.
Right.
And we had a great time, and we just started annihilating things. I had a lady from A&E contact me, and she wanted us to come and do a show there. Now, that was back in 2010.
Right.
I told her, well, there's three things I want to ask you. Do I have to create drama with my team? Well, sometimes that makes it more interesting to watch. I said, well, that's not going to happen. I said, do I have to jump at shit that's not there? Well, sometimes if it's a slow investigation, we got to spice it up. I said, okay, well, that's not going to happen.
Right.
I said, and number three, do you want me to fake shit? Well, not really fake it, but sometimes we have to embellish. I said, well, that's not going to happen. I said, so you've already answered what I needed you to answer, and now I'm going to give you my answer. No.
Right.
And I walked, and Larry always tells me that you're an idiot. You should have jumped on, and you'd have been famous by now. I would rather be liked. Let me restate this. I'd rather be hated for who I am than liked for who I'm not.
Right.
So at the end of the day, all you have is your word and your laurels. And if your word isn't worth shit, might as well just sell your stuff off and get out now.
Yeah. So, I agree with that.
I would rather be where I'm at now because, the kid and I have built that on our own since, 2011.
Right.
Then just, pop onto the TV screen and then everybody knows who I am.
Right.
So,
So how'd you go from this one paranormal team to another one? Did you switch names? There had to have been a dynamic.
There was. We started growing, like I said, exponentially. We we started the Small Town Paranormal family. And we had 28 teams, nation and worldwide. We had teams in Ireland. We had teams in Australia. We had teams in England. We had a team in Scotland, 2 in Canada, and then, of course, dotted all over the United States, New York, Chicago.
Right.
And basically what it was a network of people and teams that, if you called us for help, somebody could go and respond to that.
Okay.
And, or we would find, a reputable team of people that we knew or had talked to and said, hey, we don't have anybody in this area, but you're there. Can you go and help these people out?
Right.
And it worked out really well until it didn't. The Manteno State Hospital, we got a bunch of people together from the small town family and went in there and investigated. It was a great investigation. Probably the most haunted place I've ever been to is the Morgan Cottage of the Manteno State Hospital.
Okay.
We had a great time. And a few months later, I was asked to be on the Manteno Morgan Cottage. My partner Rob and I were both asked to be part of the rehab to it and getting it to be a premier paranormal spot.
Right.
I didn't have time, so I turned it down. My partner Rob didn't have time either, so he turned it down as well. And after that, they had done this cleanup day, and they had put on this cleanup day for cleaning asbestos, and they were all wearing painter's masks or tying stuff around their, the bandanas around their face, which I'm not sure how much you know about asbestos, but that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. No, I know it.
You have to have those really high filtered. If you're not going to have a respirator, you at least have to have the masks with the canisters.
Right.
That have I forget what the particulate count is on it, but it's high.
Right.
Asbestos is small, and asbestos is what causes mesothelioma.
Yeah.
So somebody turned them in for that, because they had posted pictures of the cleanup all over Facebook.
Wow.
Well, somehow it got misconstrued that I was the one who turned them in for that, and I wasn't. I had nothing to do with it. Then there was speculation that Larry had turned them in, and he did not turn them in. So after this was all said and done, we found out who turned them in, and lo and behold, it wasn't Larry or I, either one of us, but I got crucified for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny in this business, DeEtte, how fast people will put you on a pedestal.
Yes.
But if they think you've done something that they disagree with,
mm-hmm.
they are the first motherfuckers to pull axes out and start chopping that bitch down.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry about cussing, but I use that term lightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting threats all the time, and and you've known me long enough to know, hey, bring it on. Where do you want to meet? Let's
like whatever.
Yeah, let's go talk this out, and we'll see who's standing at the end of it.
Right.
I've also come to find out that most people, I would say 83.5% of them in this business, are lots of talk and no action.
Mm-hmm.
They like to throw their bullshit around, but when it comes time to back it, they really don't have anything to back it. And then they end up scooting off like the sissy asses that they are.
Right.
Which is what happened. There was a little website called SciFake, and they were just ripping me to shreds on there. Wow. And the only two people that came to my defense, besides my good friend Sandy, Larry kind of even bowed out of it, because I think he just got tired of dealing with it.
Well, yeah, drama's drama at the end of the day.
And nobody on there would use their real name besides me and my friend Sandy. Jason Hawes and Ron Fabriani.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Hawes got onto SciFake and said, instead of crucifying this guy, you ought to be thanking him, because whether he did or didn't turn you guys in, one of y'all is going to end up being sick.
Right.
And instead of pissing all over him, you ought to be thanking him. Right. And Ron Fabriani then went on to SciFake to say, he's the only person that's shown any concern for any of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else, it's all about the place. Oh, you've destroyed the place. Nobody once cared about your health or well-being except for Dan Norvell.
Mm-hmm.
So when the small town family deteriorated in about a weekend, I basically threw everybody off, and I got on and went on a nice little tirade for about 3.5 hours and put up facts about mesothelioma. And I had a guy tell me, well, you don't know. I said, dude, I was a hazmat specialist or hazmat ops guy, not a specialist, but an ops guy in the fire department. I said, I know enough about hazardous materials and how to protect yourself from them to warrant backing what I'm talking about. Right. Not to mention the fact of being a paramedic and know what the effects of mesothelioma really are.
Yeah.
So you're just another person talking out your ass.
Right.
So, said my piece, deleted the pages, walked, and started the Ghost Hunter Dan project. And I basically just went out by myself.
Mm-hmm.
and worked with whoever I wanted, whenever I wanted.
Right.
And it was more of a hobby thing. I was tired of running teams. I was tired of listening to people's shit. And the funny thing, DeEtte, is about the funny thing about human beings is that we forget as fast as we jump onto a bandwagon.
We do, don't we?
Yes. And you know, it's so funny because I've run into a few people that are still surprised that I'm still doing what I'm doing and still around. And you know, when the truth finally comes out, you know, I'd like to say that I'm above holding grudges, but I'm not. I don't forget that shit.
Right.
If you're friends with me, we're friends for life. If you back me, I'll back you. You put a knife in my back and I'll never frickin' forget that shit.
Right.
And the minute I have the chance, I will be chopping on your pedestal. You can bet your ass it's going to happen. I
definitely get that vibe from you. So
yeah, if you piss me off, you don't get 3 chances.
Right. No, I definitely
get that another. Vibe. You might get 2, but the third time
you're done.
You fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me.
Right.
And that's kind of the way I live my life. Plus, you gotta remember, DeEtte, being a corrections officer, I'm around the best liars in the world all day, every day.
Yeah.
So I know when I'm smelling bullshit.
Yeah. We've had those conversations, you know,
yes.
We've had those conversations, and it's like, it is what it is, you know?
Right.
You've been there a lot of years. I only spent a year in corrections. You've spent 17, but
yeah,
you know, I get the gist of it. I was there long enough to go, yeah, I know what this rodeo is about, you know?
You can bet that 90% of what they're telling you is bullshit. Maybe 10% of it's true.
Oh, it's true. That's 110%.
Right. But,
so yeah, go ahead.
I moved on, started the Ghost Hunter Dan project, had fun working with different people who still wanted to work with me. But like I said, memories fade and new people come into the field. That's the best part of the field, is we have new people coming in all the time.
Right.
Who hadn't heard the BS. And, you know, Larry had probably taken a two-year hiatus from it.
Wow.
I didn't really talk to him that much in that 2 years. And all of a sudden, he called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to go ghost hunting?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So he and I went out, and we started hitting it again a little bit. And he said, "What do you think about getting a team back together and just running it under the Ghost Hunter Dan Norvell project?" I'm like, "You know how I feel about that." But he's pretty convincing, talked me into it. And as we were kicking that all off is when an idea popped into the back of my head about Expedition Entity.
Yeah.
And I called him one morning and I said, "Look, we got a team. We're doing pretty good again." I said, here's a concept. I want to go to the less well-known places. I want to showcase them. And I want to show that, any place can be haunted at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, I like that." And, he and I, it was kind of something that we started doing without the rest of the guys. And we shot our first episode out at one of the Black Hawk battle sites in Kent, Illinois. We didn't get anything picture-wise or anything like that, but we did get one EVP.
Right.
And the question I asked was, if there's any of you here with us, where are you from? And I had a whisper come over the audio of my camera that went, "Kent," in a whisper, which we were in on unincorporated Kent.
Oh, wow.
So
that's incredible.
That was really neat. And, the rest is kind of blossomed. And, we walked away from the team. We dissolved the team, the Ghost Hunter Dan Norvell project, because it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And the only reason I did that is because there's not too many people around with my name.
Right.
And all of a sudden, after we dissolved Small Town Paranormal, we eventually wanted to bring that back. And by that time, there was already 3 other Small Town Paranormals in the United States.
Right.
So I didn't really want to pay the money to trademark it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. And we went with the Ghost Hunter Dan project. But, you know, we dissolved the team. It was kind of Larry and I doing our thing, and it blossomed into what Expedition Entity is today. And, you know, we brought Stevie back, and now we have Paige and Sierra, and
It's amazing.
you know, I'm now just looking forward to season 4.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to season 4, and I have to go back and watch all the past seasons, you know, because I mean, I'm the first one to say I don't watch every ghost hunting show. I don't want, you know what I mean? Only because I don't know. It's a whole different world. You know what I mean? I'd rather be out there doing the investigation than watching somebody else do the investigation. Does that make sense?
It does.
That's my thing. But there's a few shows out there I do watch because I think they're done with a lot of integrity, you know. And I know you and I have had a lot of conversations. We've built what I believe is just a dynamic friendship, you know, and some of it came from just the beginning of, what do you think about this? What do you think? What is your views? What are your views? You know, to see if we were even on the same page. And we, you know, my whole big thing is don't hurt the spirit. You know, I mean, maybe it's the medium part of me, you know what I mean, that says, oh my gosh, this is still a soul. You know, it might be really angry, but it's still a soul and I don't want to hurt it, you know.
Sure.
And you have the same views as I do, you know, which, so to watch Expedition Entity, it's to talk, it's to learn, it's to conversate, it's to get people to coexist, it's to help them cross if that's what they want.
Right.
And not about poke the ghost.
Yeah, Larry and I have never been ones that like to provoke.
Yeah.
Now there was a time that we were at a location that, you know, something came over me, and you know, this spirit was a grumpy spirit. He was kind of a bully,
Right.
and I got really pissed and called him out. You know, I'm like, hey, here I am. If you want it, show yourself. Let's go for it.
Right.
And, you know, that's the one and only time. And Larry followed me around with the camera this whole 20-minute tirade that I went on. And that's not me.
Right.
That is not me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, the other time is when we were out at the Hanging Bride Bridge, and this lady had hung herself from this bridge in her bridal gown.
Right.
She was jilted at the altar. And that was the first time Jen and Laura were with us. And DeEtte, I'm not a crier. You know, when my grandfather, who was loved by everybody, there wasn't a dry eye in the church when we were at his funeral besides me.
Right.
I'm just not a crier. I don't wear my emotions on my sleeve. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
And you know, all of a sudden, this lady's emotions dumped into me, and you know, the finality of making the decision that, yes, I'm going to take my own life. This is it. I have nothing. There's no recourse. This is never going to get better.
Yeah.
And looking into that dark void that apparently you have to stare into when you make that decision,
Mm-hmm.
It was overwhelming. And yeah, I actually started crying. And, you know, you can see Jen several times go, my God, are you okay? Are you okay? And you know, through editing, you probably only see her ask me twice, but the whole night. And then finally, I just, you know, within another hour, we probably stayed there an hour after that, I finally able to shed whatever she dumped into me to an extent.
Right.
And then about an hour later, I'd had enough. And I said, you know what? This is it. I'm done. I can't take this shit anymore. So we're out of here.
Right.
And, you know, that's
a lot.
We try to put on a very authentic show. Larry doesn't put sound effects when something happens. You see it as we shot it. He may replay something if we capture something But that's it. We're not out to put bells and whistles to draw you in. We just want you to see, what actually happened while we were there.
Right. Which I think is amazing. To me, I think that is, I like the authenticity of it, because when you get something that's authentic, you can get people to help believe and help support.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I do believe, I don't know about yourself, but, I've spent some time thinking about this where, you did start with Jason Hawes in these shows. To me, Jason Hawes, like the grandfather of paranormal. They were really the first ones, and they didn't go in as ghost hunters. They went on as ghost debunkers.
Yeah.
They went in from a totally different standpoint. Basically we debunked everything, but I can't debunk this. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to tell you it's a ghost because I don't know, but here you go. And I think when you're looking at this long line of, different ghost shows, it's hard to believe sometimes, because I do believe some of these shows have really taken what, ghost investigation or paranormal investigation, turned it into a comedy, unfortunately. So now getting shows that are coming back to say, no, this is real. This is truth. We are hearing this stuff. We are seeing this stuff. This is really happening, and not doing it in a filtered way.
Right.
So to me, I think that's amazing,
Yeah. And Natalie Jones has done
an incredible,
not just for us, but for everybody on Paraflix. She really goes above and beyond, and I know that Natalie.
I do. I love Natalie.
And, she's done more for us without even being asked than anybody ever could. And she doesn't, how we send her the shows, how she broadcasts it. If shits and fucks fly, then that's what you're going to see. And Natalie doesn't say, we need to change this up. We need to make, nope, looks great, guys. That's how we're going to air it. And, she's been a great support. And like I said, not just for us, but everybody on the network. I mean, Natalie, I say this every show, and it's starting to sound cliche, but I don't know when she sleeps. That girl,
I know. One of these times I'm going to get because I don't know if do you guys have a code for the subscription or no?
I think we do, or we did during Holoflix.
Yeah.
I think they change them up every now and again, though.
They do.
But
I'm going to ask you for a code, I think, here to run for Halloween, because I love Paragraphs, and I love Natalie, and Natalie. It's been almost 2 years since I've had Natalie on. I need to bring Natalie back in again, but to just support that program, support that, because it does give, and people don't realize, Paraflix is out there, and you do have some people that maybe probably put too much effort into it and didn't realize that they still had to put a house over their own head and all that stuff. But she does give an availability for somebody that really wants to get in and do this, and a place to put this, a place to say, what, we want to share what we found. And we may never have a discovery or a travel, channel show, but this is a place that you can go get all this quality work, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, Expedition Entity is never going anywhere but to Paraflix.
Right, and I love that. That.
We've already told Natalie that's where we're home at.
Yeah.
With Expedition Entity. Now, if we ever do another show, maybe it'll go to Paraflix, maybe it'll go, I don't know.
Who knows?
You and I have both talked. We know I'm getting very tired of wearing the uniform.
Yeah.
Between the fire service and now, I've worn a uniform for 33 years of my life.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm going to buy a cake.
Yeah, I've had about enough.
I know.
So,
yeah.
I just drove to Rockford today and passed the fire station that I used to serve on, and it said volunteers needed. And for just a split second, I thought, should I go back?
No,
I'm not.
No. No. No, that's like me going back to nursing. No.
Well, I wouldn't want to go back as a firefighter because I left the fire service because I blew my right knee out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just never really got better as long as I was still putting all that gear on and
It's heavy.
going into burning houses.
It's heavy.
And then I just started pulling away, and it was just, between the department and I, it was just time for me to leave.
Right.
I think I could go back to offer some training
Mm-hmm.
for the medics and for the firefighters, and give them some ideas from a point of view of dealing with criminals that
Right.
might help some of them.
Yeah.
But I've done that.
Mhm.
I've put myself out there for 33 years, and I'm just about done.
Right. I
So.
think I personally think it's time, but as we know, it's got to be your decision, not my decision. So I need to bring this up because Larry and Paige started this conversation when they were come on, and like I explained to everybody, you weren't able to come on at that point.
Right.
And I don't want to talk about everything on this day. But I do want to talk about bad acts because Larry was talking about the forefront. And honestly, I don't remember anything Larry said. And I didn't realize at that point why my brain literally went, it was gone. You know what I mean? But I want to talk to you about Bad X, the actual investigation at Bad X at the scene, and what that meant to you. Because, Larry, I believe, was talking more about it when bringing it up. And again, this is going to what I believe because I don't remember anything in the episode. And for everybody, it's not that I chose not to pay attention. I didn't know that I was going to be going to the investigation, and Spirit knew something that I didn't know. And they literally blanked out my whole brain for that period of time. But I do believe he was talking about wanting to be there, the reasons why he wanted to be there, and all that type of stuff. So what was that day for you? Because people don't realize you're a lot about history too. You
Right.
got a love for history on top of everything. So what is Bad Acts, just to refresh people's memories, and what did that day mean to you?
So Bad Axe was the last battle of the Black Hawk War.
Mhm.
That was the end.
Right.
The United States military basically had run Black Hawk and his British band down from Illinois through Wisconsin to Bad Axe. And where we were at on the Mississippi River is where they were trying to cross to get back over towards Iowa so that they would be left alone, because the Mississippi River, Iowa and everything west of the Mississippi was the great frontier at that point.
Right.
None of that was part of the United States yet.
Mm-hmm.
And President Jackson had enough. He told his generals in the United States military that I don't want them captured. I want them eliminated. So exterminate his band. And that's what they did. They ran them down, funneled them into where they were all trying to cross the river. And you saw the islands.
Yeah.
They're trying to make their way to those islands to get away. They pulled up a steamship called the Warrior and another steamship, and I don't recall the name of the other steamship, and basically started firing at will at women, children, elders, and warriors, and started mowing those people down in the water. And one of the accounts that I read said the whole Mississippi ran with blood. It was all stained in blood because they had killed so many Native Americans in the river.
Yeah. That was huge.
And it was. I mean, there was over 325 or 350 Native Americans killed just that first day.
Yeah.
And you got to think, they were up scouting around trying to round up the rest of them and stuff, and shooting them as well.
Right.
So, for probably 3 days up there, It was it's called the Bad Axe Massacre for a reason, and it's because it was a massacre.
Right. Well, one thing happened that day, and it still sticks with me, when you and I and Paige were sitting at the table.
Mm-hmm.
And you had one of the equipment through a speaker so that to see if we can get it a little clearer. And you had said, "Oh my gosh, I've never had this happen. So many voices at once. So many voices." And you said you'd never heard that before.
Mm-mm.
What, because I know in my head what I was hearing, and what was coming through there is what was going on in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't have physically given a voice to one because there were so many, but here it was coming through the speaker. It was coming through all of this too. So what is your take on that? Because normally you're lucky if you get one voice.
I think you had, a whole lot of souls up there trying to be heard. That's my take. We're stuck here. Get us out of here. That's kind of really my feeling on why we were hearing so many voices.
Right.
Not to mention that I am, which I've told you, I'm a bit empathic. So,
Right.
I
think you're more than a bit, but hey.
Well, I was not probably feeling what you were feeling up there, but I was definitely feeling the gloom and doom and the dread.
Exactly.
And so for me to go to Bad Axe compared to Larry going to Bad Axe,
right.
The historical significance is the same for both of us,
right.
but the experience is much different for both of us.
Exactly.
Larry is a film student. He's a film major. He's getting his master's degree in film and communications.
Right.
So when Larry goes somewhere, he looks at it as a filming opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
As well he should.
Right.
He and I run a production company. I should probably look at things a little more like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't. And the reason I can is because I feel things that Larry does not.
Right.
So for me to walk onto a historical site that's been forgotten, by the way.
Right.
Because in all the history books, nobody talks about the Black Hawk War of 1832.
Right.
Because it's a shitty part of history that everybody would just really like to forget. But guess what? That's what led to the big movement on the Trail of Tears and everything else shitty that's happened to the Native Americans in America.
Right.
So the Black Hawk War was really the turning point to where America said, enough. We're not dealing with you people anymore. Now look at it today. They've all ended up on reservation. I think between you and I, it's funnier than hell to see Ho Chunk Casino and stuff pop up. And, the white man goes in and gambles in those casinos and develop gambling problems. And it's kind of, I look at it as the Indians saying, you took our land, we built casinos and give you monkey for your back.
Exactly. It's
justice.
It's justice. Karma is karma, no matter how you look at it. It really is.
Absolutely. So, I think that the Native Americans should have casinos in every town because it's poetic justice. So
it really is.
But for me, it was very dark. It was very dreary. I was very quieter than I usually am.
You were.
And it's because
that they meant something to you.
Well, it really knocked me off kilter. And, I can deal with one or two or maybe a half a dozen spirits being in a spot that, some bad shit happened, because let's face it, everywhere we go, it's not because great things were going on there. It's because bad shit happened there.
Right.
We're always dealing with death, and death is not something that we all look forward to. So
right
off the bat, it's not a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
But to have so much death and have that massacre site and to be able to feel the emotions of what they were feeling, it was very overwhelming. And I know by your reaction and some of the things that you had said that were not filmed, I knew it was overwhelming for you,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very overwhelming for me. And as you can see, it's hard to shut my mouth.
Right.
But up there, I wasn't saying a whole lot. I was really taken back by the way I felt when I finally walked there. This has been the coup de grace for Larry and I. We've wanted to get to Bad Axe. And when I finally got there, when we were up on the bluff and looking at the signs that marked Bad Axe out, I didn't feel it then. But when we were standing on that riverbank and I walked over and read what was on the sign on the riverbank,
Mm-hmm.
That's when everything just came crashing down on me.
Right. And people don't realize that, a lot of times, and that's one reason why I wanted Larry, Larry started the conversation. I really wanted you to be the one to bring this to fruition, is people don't realize that some of these sites that you guys go to really hold something in here for you. It's not just walking into, this building again or that building again, and making it a famous building or whatever. These things really hold something dear to you, whether it's, the history of it or wanting to help a population cross or whatever this might be, And I honestly think that Bad Axe and that day, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I really do believe that day itself has just kind of shifted your trajectory and where you're going to go forward.
I do.
I
do.
mean?
I would agree with you. I am going to start embracing different part. I've done cleansings for a long time. It's just not something we've ever filmed because I feel that cleansings are very personal.
Mm-hmm.
People don't need to be seeing that shit.
Right.
There's going to be a certain amount of your viewers that are going to disagree with that statement. And then there's going to be a certain amount of them that say, yeah, I get you, Dan.
Right.
My feeling is that's very personal. Some personal things can come up. I don't let Larry film cleansings, and I rarely let him film crossings.
Right.
But I've crossed a lot of spirits and I've cleansed a lot of spots. And that day at Bad Axe, I did cross some of those spirits.
Yeah.
But my feeling is where do I start? My grandfather was in World War II. He was a medic I want to say he was on Utah Beach, which wasn't quite as bloody as Omaha Beach, but same concept.
Right.
And for me being a medic, all I can think of is when he looked out and saw all of his men laying out in front of him. Mm-hmm. Where do I start? And that's kind of the way I felt, DeEtte, is where do I start?
Right.
And, there was a point to where you and Paige and Larry walked off to film a segment for whatever he's trying to put this together as. And I walked off alone and I sat on the riverbank by myself for a good 30 to 45 minutes. And, I crossed some of those spirits and got them out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel as though we were talking to Blackhawk.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you and I came to a conclusion, and I don't want to give too much up because I don't want to wreck Larry's production here.
Yeah, and that's just it, because I didn't want to go into all that because I want that to be a huge surprise. Right. And you and I have already know everything that's gone down, and we can figure out the rest later on. And
sure,
it's okay.
But I think that Blackhawk was there.
Mm-hmm.
I felt a lot of pride on that ground that day, and I think that came from him. But I also felt a lot of thank you for getting my people out of here.
Yeah.
So
and I think a lot of them will cross because now that they've seen that's possible and what you did, I think a lot of them will find their own way.
I really hope so.
I really do. You've opened up a gate of light, and I'm a firm believer that, a soul is going to find a way all over that. Now they know that they don't have to be trapped.
Right.
We've watched some, and I think some of them will be like, hey, want to, you know what, let's do this together. We'll hold hands. Right. We'll walk through together. So.
Well, and, you know, since that day, I've found out that I can cross spirits remotely.
You can. I love it. I love it. And that we're not going to talk about that now. We won't talk about that. We have to wait until everything has been out there, and
right.
And then we will, you know what, maybe after that airs, whatever it's going to be, because we don't know if it's going to be into Larry's personal library or if it's going to show up. We really don't know. And if it shows up someplace, then great, we'll talk about it then. And if not, sorry, guys. You know what I mean?
Just us.
You have to watch the video on Facebook. There you go.
Larry and I talked the other night, and he's going through that footage.
Right.
And he thinks that he's already heard a couple things that have amazed him. He has not shared with me what they are.
Wow.
But you know, he said, I think this, albeit it's going to be short, but he said, I think we can make something out of this. So
wow.
I got my fingers crossed. You know, what people don't realize about Expedition Entity is when Sierra and Paige and Steve are expected to show up at 7:00 at night before the investigation starts, Larry and I have already been at that location since 9-10 o'clock that morning.
Right.
Doing the B-roll, doing the drone stuff, doing the interview, I'm planning on what I'm going to do investigation-wise as a lead investigator while he's planning shots.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, if you're going to do this here, I need to have a camera here. I need to have a camera here. I need to have Steve here with this, and I need to do this, and I need to have you, you know, so.
There's a whole lot into this. People don't realize.
There's more that goes into Expedition Entity than people know. And, you know, because of all of that, you know, Larry and I were able to, with, you know, our good friend Bill Walters' help, and such a great location being Broadhead Manor, and Jenny Davis and our Jen and, you know, Steve, Larry, and I, we were able to eke out a Telly somehow. And, you know, to me, DeEtte, that didn't mean a whole lot until I researched and found out what the Telly really is. It's a 44-year-old film festival. And then it became really real when I held that statue in my hand.
Right.
And was like, holy shit, we actually accomplished something. And, you know, like Larry said, we were up against people that were with Paramount and Discovery and everybody else. And we actually were able to put out something even better that the judges thought was better than even those people. And Larry and I are doing that in our own garage.
Yeah.
We don't have a big production company behind us. We don't have thousands upon thousands of dollars coming in. This is he and I out of our pocket producing something because of our love for it. And we were able to do something that it takes lots and lots of money and time to do.
Yeah.
Which it took lots and lots of money and time. It's just we didn't have any financiers for it. He and I are the financiers. Yeah,
and it's not always cheap.
It's not.
It's not always cheap, and it's amazing. It's so amazing, you know. It really is, and people don't realize that. And I didn't realize this because what people don't understand is that you will see Expedition Entity on Paraflix or whatever. If they're following you on Facebook, they'll see you pop up at a cemetery here or someplace. You do this because you just enjoy the heck out of this.
Right. I do. I enjoy the history. I enjoy helping the spirits I can. I enjoy helping other people with their problems. You know, I am so sorry.
Oh, why are you sorry?
Because my phone's going off.
Everything's for a reason.
Well, it can go down there and be quiet.
I love it.
So the you know, the thing about it is, you know, doing cleansings and stuff. I don't do a lot of cleansings because it makes me very sick.
Right.
And I'm usually sick for about 3 days afterwards. So for me to do a cleansing, I've cleansed people and I've cleansed places. For me to do a cleansing, it's got to be a kid, or it's got to be a very, very volatile situation for me to go and know that I'm going to be sick from it.
Right.
Excuse me for one
You
second.
are fine.
I'm going to take care of this right now. Give me 1 second.
You're good. Don't worry. I had to message because Bill messaged me really quick, and I had to message him back really quick.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, you're good, because Bill messaged me on this side, so I had to message him back really quick, which is not something I normally do. I'm like, no, it's Bill. I gotta message him,
So
I just love everything you do, Dan, and you know what, the driving force behind you, and the work that you're involved in, and where this is going, and I know for you have absolutely no future plans as to where this will or will not go. You're just flying by the seat of your pants and enjoying every moment of it.
I am.
I love that. So is there any advice you would ever give anybody?
Do what you got to do. Do you, be you. Do what you got to do, and don't, let the naysayers naysay, and don't let them be critical. If it feels right to you, follow it and do it. That's my advice.
I love it.
There's so many people who say you're doing this wrong, but yet, if you're not there and you're not experiencing it with, how do you know they're doing it wrong? And, everybody focuses on the science, and, you really just got to focus on, if you can help somebody and make them feel better and you feel better about yourself, isn't that what it's about?
Exactly.
So that's my advice. Take it or leave it.
I love that. I love it. Dan, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And I know this has been just to get us both scheduled. It's been like, but we did it. We made it happen. And I'm so happy, and thank you for allowing me in your life and part of this crazy journey. I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed.
Well,
I've got one BFF.
I appreciate it.
One BFF. I got two. So
Yes, you do.
I do. And I love it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And for everybody else, I'll be back in a few minutes with your weekly reading. This is DeEtte here on School Through Spirit with WLTK-DB.
See you guys. Thanks, DeEtte.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Download the new station calendar and never miss another show. To get it is simple and free. Just visit WLTK-DB.com to download or tap the subscribe button on our mobile app. Once the file is in your downloads folder, just double-click it, authorize it to your calendar, and boom, you have every show listed. Not only does it list the shows, but also the links to watch them live. We would like to thank Danny Loosemore for developing this for us and hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Get yours now at WLTKDB.com or just click subscribe on our mobile app. See you at the shows. Put the power of this station in the palm of your hand and download our mobile app. Visit the App Store, Google Play, and search for WLTK-DB Talk Radio and download the app for free. Listen to past shows, download our station calendar right to yours, and even shop. The WLTK-DB Talk Radio mobile app, now available on the App Store and Google Play. Download yours now.
Welcome back. This is DeEtte here on School Through Spirit with WLTK-DB.com. I have had the pleasure of having Dan Norvell on with me. I'll tell you what, him and Larry have become just BFFs, just amazing, along with Paige. And I haven't met Sierra yet, but I can't imagine them picking a bad cast member or teammate. But all of them are just such beautiful people. And, you know, if you have a chance to follow them, watch their work, see them on Facebook, see the shows on Paraflex, if you see them at an event, show up, shake their hands, give them hugs, because they are that type of people. I mean, they really are down to earth, here you go type people. And I'm just so happy that, you know, as a team and individually said yes to come on and share their journeys. And to me, it's incredible. It's incredible. So that being said, we are doing the weekly reading 5-card stud. We are starting with, remember, even though I'm recording this, I have the intention for next week, which is, what the heck is it? I don't even know what next week is. I think it's the 28th. I think it's the week of the 28th. Don't quote me on that. I suck at weeks. Let me see. I gotta get the right week up. Yes, it is the week of the 28th. So this reading is for the week of the 28th. It should be lots and lots of fun, lots and lots of fun. So we are going to use the Oracle of the 7 Energies. This is, remember, that newer deck. I really have not worked with it much. So sometimes I might fumble through it. Sometimes it's just boom, there you is. There it is in my head, and I love it. So with 5-card stud, if you've never watched it before, what this is you're going to pick a card. Do you want card number 1, card number 2, number 4, whatever? You can pick 1 card. You can pick 2 or 3 cards. You can pick all 5 cards, whatever it is you want. I'm going to go individually on which each card is and what it means. And then I'm going to go back and tell you what the meaning when I put all 5 together. And then as always, I always pick a 6th card when I'm done, a 6th one. And that 6th one I yank from Beyond Lumeria card. Why? Because their wording, they just tend to wrap it all together. And I love that. I love that. So I've been shuffling. Who knows what's going to come up? Again, this is 5-card stud. Loving it every day. Loving it. I love my life. Love my life. So the first card is a merry motive. Ooh, isn't that cool? A merry motive. I love that. Oh my God, look at the gorgeousness of that card. I love that card. Now with merry motive, when I look at this card, what I'm really looking at is why, you know, if you pick card number 1, it's why are you doing something? Why are you doing it? Now, so many of us make decisions on things we're going to do in life, but we make those decisions based on, oh my gosh, what we need or what we have to have, maybe what somebody else wants. We're always looking at something else. And if you pick card number 1, it is telling you it is time for you to start doing things for good reasons. Why you want to do it. Is this going to make you happy? Is this a passion? Is this a driving force for you? And that's really what card number 1 is. So it is telling me you've got some decisions to make, but what's the motive behind it? If it's not a good enough motive to make you happy, then don't do it. Card number 2 is a deep breath. Oh, look at that card. Oh, I need this in a painting on my wall. A deep breath. Card number 2. When I look at the card, that is about you literally taking a pause. Taking a pause. So many people to me they tell me, DeEtte, don't forget to breathe. And now I just tell them, I take my breath in and I go, and I forget to breathe out. Okay. So it's take a deep breath. Take a moment to just fill your lungs. Nothing has to be done right now. And that's what the card's about, is you don't have to do it right now. Take a moment for you. Take a moment to take that cleansing breath. Take a moment to look at everything around you and do it in a timely manner. It says not to take a break, not to take a stop, not to do something. It's just telling you take a moment to take a breath and kind of look around us. Now, card number 3 is it is what it is. There ain't no sugarcoating that one, is it? It is what it is. And when you're looking at card number 3 and what that says, it's exactly that. You can't change it. If you pick card number 3, there is something in your life that has happened or is happening or is about to happen. And you're going, oh my gosh, can I rewrite time? Can I go back in a time machine and redo this, have a second do-over or something? Or can I change it? No. It is what it is. There is no change in it. There is no sugarcoating it. There is no making it better. That's what the card's about. So seriously, if you pick card number 3, it just is what it is. Card number 4 is body and soul. Okay, God, these cards are kind of, gosh, these cards are really kind of hooking in with what I talked about in the very beginning. So body and soul, you're in for this. You're in for the long run. You're in for the jump, okay? You're in this. And if you pick number 5 or card number 4, I'm going to tell you, you're in a dynamic that is about your personal growth. It's about your growth. So many of us are we stop for a moment of spirituality. We stop for a moment maybe to watch my show, or we stop for a moment to read something, but we're not necessarily always walking in spirit, always walking in this life. And this card, if you pick number 4, it's really about, this is your chance to start walking in a different life, a different perspective. Okay, which is going from your perspective and not somebody else's perspective, and realizing that you are here for your existence, for your own growth, okay? And bringing those together. Now, card number 5, the last one we're going to pull on here is great and full. Great and full. Wow. It's a cup card. Now, cups is really about love. When you're looking at the tarot deck, this is an oracle deck. I understand this. But when I'm looking at tarot, it's about love. It's about passion. It's about all those things that make you feel really good. And that's really what great and full. If you pick card number 5, you were looking at, this is where you're sitting at right now. It's not that you can't add something more to it later or change up the dynamics of things, but for right now, things are pretty awesome. Your cup is full. You've come to a realization that I don't need to add more into my life to make things better. It's telling me that you've gone in and you went, life is pretty good. And that's what that card tells me. Now, when we're looking at all, each of these cards, so let's kind of revamp here. Card number 1 was a merry motive, do things for you. Card number 2 is to take that deep breath, which is just take a moment and enjoy. Card number 3 is it is what it is. Card number 4 is body and soul. And card number 5 is great and full. Now, if I look at all these cards together, I'm telling you, this is your week to go, holy crap, and a lot of revelations happening. This week for you is about revelations, things coming together, okay? You are really starting that whole, I want to say, climax up to realizing that you're starting to do things for you, for your soul, for your own growth. And it's not that you're not caring about the rest of the people around you and or the world, but you're realizing when you do things for yourself, everything else starts to fall in place, and it falls in place for everybody else also. And I do believe this is your week for that, to go, you know what? Everything is what it is. You can't change it. It happens. It all happens for a reason. There's no change in it because it does happen for a reason. And that when you bring it all together, everything is pretty amazing at the end, that you don't really have to worry for anything, that you don't have to worry about where's the next dollar coming from, or where's the next fun moment coming from, because again, you don't need all that to make you a better person or to have a better existence. And that's all okay. Now, let's look at the Beyond Lemuria cards and see what that has to say. Well, let's see what it has to add to it, And again, I love these cards just because they're no BS type of card. They really kind of always tied together, and that's why they're my go-to for the 6th card. So, with that being said, what is the card of the day? Oh my gosh, there's like a hair stuck to it. Ooh, look at that. Gosh, look at that. That lady with all the, the stars and the eyes. And oh my gosh. It says it's the air. So it's a paradigm shift. This is a time of tremendous change. And the speed of our evolution is increasingly exponentially. We can build energetic sovereignty, inspire others, connect dots, and receive and share the knowledge and tools needed for transformation. As we wake up, we can't help but awaken those around us. It may start with an inquiry about this fresh, new, and long-awaited breath sorry, my brain is going no way. It may start with an inquiry on what this fresh, new, and long-awaited breath is all about. An expansive being holds a tiny heart-shaped seedling. When the foundations we build on come from a place of love over fear, we will see huge positive changes in the world. We can start with ourselves. That's a mic drop. That's a mic drop. Holy crap. I couldn't make this up, guys, if I wanted to. And when you look at what the book, Spirit had me open up to the book about the soul and the depths of that, right down to a lot of what Dan talked about being himself, you know, and look at what his journey has come to, just being himself, right down to that weekly card pull. Oh my gosh, guys, there's no making this stuff up, is there? There is just absolutely no making this up. It is what it is. It's pretty tremendous. It's amazing. And I honestly have to tell you, I love it. I love the fact that these cards are telling us that, guess what? This next week is about waking up for yourself as an individual. And it's not about looking at everybody else, but doing it here. Because as you wake up in here, people will wake up around you. It's that simple. It really is that simple. So start to help make that shift, because when you start to shift, others start to shift too. Okay? Ah, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? So guys, what is happening with me? What is happening with me? So by the time this is airs, I will be coming back from Mid-Michigan Paracon. I had to stop for a think, and I'll be back from that, you know, by the time this airs. And I will tell you what, Labor Day weekend, I am just having, we are having a family reunion. We are having a family reunion that weekend. So, you know what? My weekend that weekend is not that big of a big hoorah. I do a lot of events going on. I'm basically taking the time for me. But I'm going to come back with Labor Day during the day, and Aaron Thompson of 28 Days Haunted is going to be on. As you know, we had Nick Simons on. Oh, I got to stop doing Simmons. Nick Simmons on. Prior, Aaron is coming on September 4th, and just kind of fill in and talk about Aaron and possibly some rings he makes and all that wonderful stuff. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. I love it. Aaron's just this great individual, and you're going to love him. And then after that, I'm going to Florida for a while. I'm going to Florida, which is going to be incredible. I'm going to have like 2 weekends off. Can you believe it? It's going to be awesome. Although I want to let you guys know, I have finally decided when I'm going to do that next beginner's class. If anybody's interested in changing their life and going, you know what, they want to just, do those things for themselves. You have the tickle tummies. You have, wanting to know and understanding, wanting to know growth, wanting to know what all these wonderful things that happen in your life and where they're coming from, where they're going to, all those wonderful things. I'm going to tell you, beginners is a great place to start. And with that, why I say that is because when you start with beginners, when you start with, oh my gosh, what did I just get rid of? I just got rid of a bunch of stuff. Anyway, when you start with beginners, now, that class is amazing. I will tell you what. Let me give you a little bit of backstory on beginner psychic medium. It is psychic mediumship development course. It is designed for people not to maybe show up and do readings on a regular basis, but what it is designed for is if you have tickle tummies, if you kind of know things, if you're empathic, if you're just curious. All those wonderful things. This is really a class for you. This doesn't mean I'm going to jump in this class and do readings one day. Now, if you want to continue with it, if you want to continue on doing this type of stuff, yeah, this class is very much the start. But if you just want to do beginners just to kind of make sense of a lot of things, this is a great class for you. It really is a great class. And I will tell you, it will start a huge change in your life. It will start a huge shift in your life. And it's incredible. What I get to witness with people and what happens with them is awesome. So you can always go to my website. It's DeEtte.us. It's up on the screen right now. You can look at that and feel free. You can register there. Send me a PM. You want to do this. If you have any other questions, always send me an email, and that's at DeEtte@DeEtte.us. Or through Facebook. You can do it through DeEtte.us on Facebook, or even DeEtte Renee if you follow me there, whichever Facebook, TikTok, whatever. There's a lot of different ways to get messages to me, Instagram, all of it. which is incredible. Would love to answer all your questions and start you on your journey of discovering you, because that's what really beginners is. It's a journey discovering you, and something I truly, truly love. I'm also going to start offering, I not a lot of people know this. I'm a spiritual coach, a life coach. A lot of people don't know that. And I'm going to start offering that service. I've been certified for, well over a year now. And I was really doing a lot of coaching before that. But it's taken me a year to come through to be able to say, this is another part of me, another aspect of me. And I'm going to start certifying, certified life coaching, which you can't find it there yet, but you will soon in the near future. And to look for me there, which is awesome. It's lots of fun. There you go. I think that's all the updates. But again, if you do want those individual private readings, feel free to message me. Feel free to go to my website, DeEtte.us, and book there. Now let's talk about the show schedule. So next week, as always, as you know, this show will air next Monday from 9 to 11, and that's called School Through Spirit. Now next week, right after the show airs at 11 a.m., we have Healing from the North with Torrin Anthony. Oh my God, you guys are going to fall. She's only on once a month, but you guys are going to seriously fall in love with Torrin. She's got so much amazingness to happen. We have Ancient Healing with Jessica Lynn and DeEtte Octon at 6 p.m. I'm going to get that name. It's going to flow. It's such a beautiful name. DeEtte Octon at 6 p.m. Monday Night Ticket with Lee Warner will start September 4th, which is awesome. And Be the Change with Christina Bloom is at 8 p.m. Tuesdays, it is Exploring the Paranormal with Heather Lee at 9 a.m. Ane with Ane Shin at 5 p.m. Now remember, she is our tarot lady, and you don't want to miss that. Moment to Moment with Linda Hope is at 7 p.m. Spirits Are Talking with Lisa Silverman is at 9. And Paranormal Pete with Pete Orbea, his last show will be August 29th. Guys, when you watch this, tomorrow night is August 29th, and it's Pete's last show. So please do me a favor, jump in, see him, tell him thank you for 3 years of amazingness. He really is truly this amazing guy. On Wednesdays is a self-care show with Deidre Sanford at 10 a.m. Spiritually Imperfect with Mike and Jen is at noon. The Numerology Hour with Kelly Brickle is at 1 p.m. And she follows that up with the Psychic Hour with Kelly Brickle at 3 p.m. Chat with Charlie is at 5 p.m. A Healing Mindset Manners with Ronnie Blunt is at 6 p.m. Haunted Experiences in 60 with Nick Sarlo and Diana Henry is at 8 p.m. And See and Beyond with Kelly Eckhart and Cheryl Murphy is at 9 p.m. Thursdays, we start with the Top Secret News with Christina George at 6. Realm of Darkness with Ashley Moreno is at 7. Haunted Voices with Todd Bates and Nicole Strickland is at 8 p.m. And Passport to Paranormal with Dr. Heather Lee and Joe Frankie is at 9 p.m. And that is a 2-hour show, guys. Fridays, we start off at 3 with the Psychic Hour Reading Show. That's Kelly Brickle. Twilight Tonight with Dee Dee Moonfires at 7. The Voice of Oneness with Amore Bonet is at 8 p.m. And Twisted Ascensions with Caden and Alyssa Mask is at 9 p.m. And again, that is another 2-hour show. I thank you guys for joining me as always. Remember to still comment, still send those likes, do it all, guys, because I'm going to jump in and look at all of those comments, and any questions you might have, Todd is going to love to send to me, and I will do what I can to answer all those comments. I do hope you enjoyed this segment. I will be back live next week, September 4th, again with Aaron G. Thompson of Haunted, 28 Days Haunted, which you can see on Netflix. And truly, I watched it. It is phenomenal. I watched the whole series. It's phenomenal. Guys, you're going to love it. Thank you, everybody, for watching today, for always being there. I truly appreciate you guys, and I'll see you September 4th, guys. Have a great day.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.